From British colonists to American revolutionaries. It all started with the Proclamation of 1763, where the territory beyond the Appalachian Mountains were given to the Indians, which angered the colonists because the colonists believed once the French threat was gone beyond the Appalachian Mountains, they could continue colonizing westward. Because of this anger, a group of vigilante men called the Paxton Boys murdered 20 Native Americans.
No!
Then a series of acts came in, starting with the Sugar Act, which was an act that placed taxes on sugar. Then the Stamp Act, which placed taxes on printed materials such as newspapers and books. Then came the Currency Act, which prohibited the colonists to use their own currency, and they could only use British pounds. Then the Quarter Act, where they had to house British soldiers upon the colonists' expenses. Then came the Declaratory Act, which repealed the Stamp Act, but also made Britain made it clear that whatever law Britain makes, the colonists had to follow. These acts were later known as the Intolerable Acts.
So the Intolerable Acts then led to the creation of the First Continental Congress, which later formed the Second Continental Congress.
And let's not forget about William Townsend, who did make all of the acts that put tax on goods that were bought. No one liked him at all.
The Townsend Acts put taxes on all imported goods such as glass, tea, paper, and everything like that. The Boston Massacre was when a group of soldiers took fire on a crowd that was throwing rocks and snowballs at them. They killed 5 and injured 6. It was known along the colonies because of an inflammatory print produced by Paul Revere.
The soldiers that killed the colonists were arrested and had to go to trial for the murders. They had trouble finding representation, obviously, because they were guilty, but they eventually found John Adams to represent them in court.
The Tea Act was an objective to undercut the price of tea smuggled into Britain's North American colonies. It was used to convince the colonists to accept Parliament's right of taxation. The act granted the company, which had a massive surplus of tea and was in financial difficulty, the right to directly ship its tea to North America and the right to duty-free export of tea from Britain.
The Sons of Liberty organized the Boston Tea Party, where they dumped a bunch of imported tea into the Boston Harbor.
You go first.
Okay, so Thomas Paine wrote Common Sense, which essentially challenged the authority of the British.
We challenge your authority. What?
The first committee of correspondence were many shadow governments that were fairly popular in the 13 colonies.
Now we have the most important part, the Declaration of Independence, which was drafted by Thomas Jefferson. It's pretty much our nation's symbol of independence and liberty, pretty important. It was signed by some major patriots like John Adams and Benjamin Franklin, who helped to edit it.